Hi, in this video I would like to present you the job that was done by the batocera team to integrate light guns into batocera. Until the version 35, only the May flash, so also known as the dolphin bar, was working. So the problem of the dolphin bar is it's very limited. Not precise. You have to use a crosshair to be able to shoot on it. And then now we have integrated light gun. So I will show you the different light guns, the job that was required to make them work, and just show you some example of how it works. So the first gun that I received was the aimtrack. So this is a gun which works with infrared, so like the wiimote, for example. Another gun that works too is a aelight gun. It is infrared too. Another gun which is the wiimote. So basically a wiimote is not a gun, but you can add an extra plastic support. And this becomes a gun. As you can see here. Among those three, for me the best is the Wii gun. Why? Mainly because the first two ones are not very polished. Mainly the calibration is not very easy to do, and you waste time before playing, in fact, to be able to play them. While it's really easier on the Wiimote now. Another gun, which is probably the best, it is a sinden gun. So it's not infrared, this is completely different. This is a camera, you see. And we will show how it works, but basically it draws a big rectangle on the TV, and the camera detects where you are shooting on. So, what was the first step to make light gun working into batocera? First, guns are not very simple devices. Most of guns, when you plug them on your PC, you will notice that this is visible as several devices. So mainly a joystick and a mouse at the same time, and sometimes three devices. For the Wiimote, it's even a bit more complicated because there is a movement detection. So the first work was to use a tool that is a device tool, which merges several devices into one, so that each gun is now recognized as a single device. And it makes the integration really easier because we won't have to configure each gun with each specific gun with each emulator to make them to work. We want to homogenize how guns are working. So now basically in batocera, guns are only one device. It's like a mouse with 10 buttons, with a gun tag. Why a mouse? Because most of guns basically are mouses, absolute mouses, so it's a bit different, but basically they are mouses. And then most of emulator are expecting that a gun is a mouse, so it was easier for us to tell that a gun is a mouse with 10 buttons. Another device I have not presented, a light gun, which is a gun for hire. We are working with Jambi, which is the creator of the gun for hire. So he will send us in the next week one gun, and we will make it work in batocera probably for the next version. So what was done once batocera sees guns? Okay. First step was to integrate into emulation station, the guns. So now when you plug a gun, emulation station see a gun and draw an icon next to the pad. If you plug several guns, you will see several guns in icons. Another thing that was done mainly by Fabrice and Tovarich was to create a database, a gun database, to be able to configure automatically gun games. To recognize which games are guns. So thanks to this, now if you go in your games, there is an icon, a gun icon next to gun games. It is automatic, you have nothing to do. Basically on all steps you have nothing to do. The aim is really that the light gun are working out of the box. You just put your gun games, you plug your gun, you have to calibrate sometimes depending on your gun, and then you can directly play at 1, 2, 3, even 4 player on the wiimote, on the Wii board. So they've created a database so to recognize automatically games. This is another advantage. That is that there is no library for guns. Okay, so you can simply access to all your gun games directly, and you can then choose the ones you want to play. Something else that was done by Fabrice is to be able to recognize the gun inside emulation station. Why? Because before playing a game, you want to check that your gun is correctly configured and that it works perfectly. So, for example, here in my case, the wiimote is not calibrated. I need to calibrate it before playing. I'm not in the correct position, in fact, to play, so it's not easy. But this is what it looks. If you have several guns, you will have, of course, several crosshair here to calibrate. Another thing, once emulation station was working, guns were recognized by batocera. There are some specificities to some light gun. So, for example, the wiimote. The wiimote is not a gun at the beginning, so we have done some modifications so that it is recognized by the system as a gun. And if you have played the Wii, you have noticed too that a wiimote is not very precise. If you had to display a crosshair on the screen to be able to know where you are shooting. On Wii gun games, you had a calibration mechanism to be able to use a Wiimote, but it's not everywhere. For example, on NES game, you have not such calibration. So we have added a calibration on top of the Wiimote driver. And now, if you press during 3 seconds the home button, so from anywhere in emulation station or even in play, you can shoot on the cross. You see. So I will badly do a test because I'm not in the correct position. But anyway, and then I have to shoot on the top left. And once it's done, okay, it's not correctly done in my side. Anyway, once it's done, you can shoot very precisely using the gun on the crosshair, and you can check before playing that according to your point of view, it is perfect. The calibration basically is a way to adjust the crosshair. In short, when you do this, we are able to know where you are located, where is the Wiimote located compared to the position of the TV in your room, and then we can basically do some very basic mathematical things to determine your position and where you are shooting at. Some other things, the sinden gun. So the sinden gun, this is this specific gun. So thanks for Andy who sent me 2 examples of this gun. This version, moreover, at recoil options. Basically, recoil is a motor inside when I shoot. It moves a bit and do some noise to be able to get more emotion when you're shooting. So let's plug this gun. I'm not on the correct output, sorry. And I didn't plug the correct one. Okay. When you connect, oops. When you connect the sinden light gun, automatically there is a white rectangle around your TV. So this work was done mainly at the beginning for emulation station. And why? Because this is how the gun works. You have no calibration to do. You can do a calibration, but this is basically to adjust the first time depending on how you are viewing, how you are aiming. But basically, you don't need a calibration, and the gun will recognize the image. The camera will recognize the rectangle and will know where you are shooting. So a work was done to add this rectangle in emulation station, only when the gun is plugged, of course. There are different sizes for the borders. This is the biggest one. Depending on the luminosity or depending on how your TV is, you can reduce the size and it works more or less. So once it is done in emulation station, we need the same rectangle in emulators. So for one emulator, Daphne, there is already an option for the sinden gun. So you have just to add the option and it will draw a rectangle. But for others, there is no option. So here again, there are two ways. Some emulation support the bezels. So bezels are basically when you have a 4:3 ratio and then images are drawn on the two sides. So we use this feature to draw the rectangle. So this is true from MAME and for RetroArch based emulators. And for other emulator, like for example PS3 wiimote, Wii, sorry. There is no way to draw this. So somebody, batocera, somebody from the project, who is no more on the project, but had an idea at the origin not to draw the rectangle on the sinden gun, but to draw a bezel or on an emulator that doesn't support bezel. There is a tool on Linux that is used to display CPU performances, memory, etc. on any game that support OpenGL or Vulkan. And this tool basically just draw text, and we have modified it. It's not yet in the official repository. There is still some work to integrate it in the official repository, but it already works from several versions in batocera. And this tool basically injects codes at the moment of the drawing on your GPU. And then each time an image is run, there is some code injected to add extra code, so basically to draw the CPU. But we have added in this tool the way to add images. With that, we can draw the bezels. And now for guns, we are able to draw the rectangle. So this is basically used for most of emulators in batocera. Okay, so this is for the different guns. And now, of course, everything didn't work ideally in all emulators, so we had some work to do in different emulators. So this is true for MAME, for example. MAME uses some libraries, Xorg libraries, to recognize the gun, and basically it uses a mouse function. And the problem of some libraries is that they consider that a gun can, that a computer can have only one mouse. So because historically you had only one cursor, one mouse on your computer, and when you plug several mouses, you have at the end only one cursor. So this is true for MAME. So we had to write a mini driver so that MAME supports Linux 7. So basically, so that it supports multiplayer. You can play up to 3 people on MAME. For PS3, we had the same issue. So basically, I did almost the same driver. It uses a Qt5, but it seems limited to only, at least in the way it is done, it is limited to one mouse and then one gun. So now we can play on PS3 up to 2 people. I don't think, I don't know if there are games with more than 2 people. Something else that was done for MAME. MAME are for arcade, so basically it's not something you add on your TV. In the past, it's something you had on some places, game places, in town, anywhere. And it was big machine, and it was not calibrated by default. So basically, people who installed this machine had to do a calibration for guns, and each game has a different calibration. And if you try to play MAME in version 35, you will see that it's not perfect. You had to do pre-calibration in game to be able to play very precisely with the guns. So to avoid this, Tovarich has configured all the games. So he started all the gun games. He has done the pre-calibration, and we have included it in version 36. And now when you start a game, if you have not already the calibration file, we will initialize your game calibration with the one done by Tovarich. And now by default, you just start your game, and it's very correct by default. For we are still working on it. There are some pre-calibrations to do, but something which is interesting about the Wii. First, by default, in all emulator in batocera, we try to remove the crosshair. The crosshair it can be easier to play if you have the crosshair. You have not to be very precise. You just check where it will shoot. We display it only in emulation station so that you can check that your gun is correctly configured. But in game, we want to remove this for immersion. And by default, in the Wii, if you play the Wii, games were displayed, and I don't think you could remove it on the real way. And there is a project that uses a feature of emulators to be able to remove that. So just let's talk 1 second about this feature. If you have played, for example, N64, you have noticed that there are some packs, texture packs, to increase the quality of the games, because it is quite old now, the 64, and resolution of TV have increased, and if you played with the old resolution, the quality of the image is less nice. So there are some packs to increase quality. Basically, what do they pack does? They replace the existing game texture by new one which are in a better quality. And the project for the Wii does the contrary. Instead of making a better texture, they just make a transparent, very small texture, so that the crosshair is no more displayed. So now you can choose. There is an option if you want to enable it, but by default, if you start games, Wii games, the crosshair will be removed. Okay. I have not started even one game. In fact, I should at least start one. Yes, Wii, for example. So Ghost Squad. So this game is playable up to 4 players. Okay, I don't know what I have plugged. There are 2 guns. I think I have enabled crosshairs for the Wii. Okay. Okay, not very easy. Okay. Okay, it will. No, okay, it's maybe not a good idea to try to show you, but okay, basically. Okay, it is how it works. I want to take yet 1 minute to thank all the team, to the batocera team, the different people working on the project. So I think, for example, to Giuliano, which is currently working on Wayland, but basically has worked on batocera for at least 5 years now, and is often the main contributors. And he did a lot of things in the past, including work on the Raspberry, Androids, and different code cleaning and new options, etc. At the current time, Diman LFC is working on PS Vita, for example. He did recently PS Vita, but same, he's doing a lot of things on the project and fixing regularly bugs and discussing with people, doing support. Demetris, of course. Demetris, a strong man on the project. Basically, he's working at the same time on Laka, and he has a very big knowledge about boards, and a lot of boards come from Demetris. Libero Dark, who mainly worked as contributed to make wine and wine-based game working in batocera. Of course, Lionel. So sorry, Lionel. I don't know how I say your name in English. So same, is contributing to different aspects of the project. Recently, is working on themes, but it includes several things: Acme Plus, Atari, TV-SLAN, Glenby, and people doing a job on the support, on the forum, on the chat, because every day we have various people coming to ask questions, or it works, or what I can do. I said Atari, yes, but Atari, when is strongly, among others, but is strongly working on the wiki, and now we have a wiki which has a lot of information. Each time information is new, people are adding it on the wiki, and basically you go on the gun page, for example, and you have everything, each emulator which is supported, list of games, every option which are available. So basically, if you want any information, just go in the wiki. I want to thank, of course, translators. Thanks to them, batocera is available in several languages, and different testers and people giving feedback on the project. Thank you.